Hi. In this presentation and demonstration, I'll walk you through the main administration or account administration features on Bluemix Public. As you've probably seen already, Bluemix is a cloud development platform built by IBM to facilitate the deployment and provisioning of applications on the Bluemix platform. It provides many great features for building innovative, creative applications and also facilitate and enable flexible and agile development for organizations. What we're going to look at today is how you can manage your Bluemix public accounts, mainly when you look at working in a team environment or establishing a corporate account where you're going to host a number of applications, how you're going to manage the different team members and users that will be leveraging the same account, how you're going to monitor the consumption and the cost and billing based on the applications deployed there, and also how you can establish a set of notifications for getting alerted or notified about any certain maintenance outages or updates that may occur in the platform. The main topics we're going to go through today is user accounts, how you establish a user account, what does a user account mean on Bluemix Public. We will also look at how you can promote your own account to act as a sort of a master account or a corporate account where you can invite many team members and start building applications for an organization or so. Once you do so, you probably want to also look at segregating those team members into more logical groups for visibility, for governance purposes, and that's where you can leverage the Bluemix organization and space features. It's a two-level organization structure or hierarchy structure that you can enable to create such logical groupings between users and also apply roles and permissions. We will then switch gears to talk about usage and billing, how you can monitor the charges and the costs as you go through the month on the different applications that are provisioned and hosted on your account. And finally, we'll have a quick look at the platform notifications. On the first topic, the Bluemix accounts, one of the things you probably have seen already when logging in or trying to use Bluemix is of course you need a Bluemix account or you need an account to access the platform. The default method is by simply signing up to Bluemix, and that will walk you through creating your own IBM ID. It's an authentication service, an IBM's authentication service that is by default enabled or configured with Bluemix. Bluemix Public. Once you sign up and create your account and activate that account, now you have your own space, if you can call it this way, or an account profile that enables you to create applications. There is also a second method in Bluemix Public where you may decide or opt to federate your IDs with your own single sign-on service. This will configure a list of IDs that may belong to a certain corporate or an organization to pass by their own single sign-on service to authenticate to Bluemix. And if a user enters the right credentials, he or she will be able to access or log into Bluemix. It's a nice way to probably use an existing authentication service for your organization or your company if you have such service. That second approach is fully explained or documented in the Bluemix documentation if you're interested in that. For the remaining of the discussion today, we're going to assume that we're going to use Bluemix ID, the default way for configuration. What I want to highlight is your Bluemix account will become your unit of managing or accessing the different applications or different assets that you build in Bluemix. So within an account today, you can create one or more application instances for a project or more. You can also instantiate Bluemix services, and if you've probably seen Bluemix before, used Bluemix before, you're familiar with the concept of the Bluemix service catalog, where you can have access and use any of the out-of-the-box available services there. A Bluemix account is also the unit of cost and charges. So what you will see also is that by the end of the month, all the costs incurred on your account will be rolled up and sent in an invoice that you can always, view and drill down to the details of the charges through the usage and billing tab. A Bluemix account also holds the credit as such. So whether you are using your credit card for our pay-as-you-go model, or whether you have purchased a subscription contract with IBM, your Bluemix account becomes the holder of such commercial contract. That's why a Bluemix account is very, very important. And accounts typically correspond to individuals where a user may have his or her own account to access and use Bluemix. In the case of corporates or organizations, they might create a master account or corporate account where they assign the ownership of that account to one of their members. And they also invite the rest of the team members to this account where they can build applications and use that as a central account, if I can call it this way, to access all the applications and develop all the applications there. That process is usually done by having the owner of the corporate account to invite the users or the rest of the team members to this account. Inviting the team members is as simple as deciding or defining exactly the email or the Bluemix ID of those members. Any invited user will get an email notification where he or she need to link or accept the invitation, and as such they become members of this Bluemix account. If I want to maybe reflect that on the Bluemix, let's go quickly and have a look at this in a live demo. So as you can probably see, I'm logged in through my own a Bluemix public account here where I can see the information. Nothing stops me from being an owner of an account and also a member that is invited and part of other accounts for other organizations. And as we'll probably see later, I also can access the different regions or data centers that serve Bluemix Public today. And there is currently 3 data centers available in the US South, Sydney, and United Kingdom. Later on, we'll see also that we can further group the users of a specific account into a 2-level hierarchy that helps us with the governance and the management of the different users in there. If I want to invite team members, I can simply click on the account tab and go to the team directory where I can look at the current team members and also invite new ones. This is simply done by clicking on the Invite Team Members tab. So here you can see the different team members. I can always see the roles and responsibilities for any of those team members under the different organizations and different spaces. We're going to talk about that later. But in case I want to invite a new team member, I can simply click on the Invite Team Members button where I can specify certain details like where do I want to assign or add that team member as a start, under which organization, in which space. And from there, I can also give a default role for that user to start accessing my Bluemix account. That could be auditor or a developer. And finally, add the team member email address. That could be another colleague of mine. Let's see if his email is as such. Or if I want to invite a number of team members in bulk, I can always add them and separate them by spaces, commas, or line breaks. Of course, and define a default role for them where I can invite them there. By clicking Next, that will send email notifications to all of the invited members, and upon receiving those emails and accepting them, the team members become active members of my Bluemix account. And once I do so, probably the next logical step is to see how I can manage their allocation and an assignment in my account today. So we've seen that in the demo, for example, where the team directory tab enables us to see the different users. If I look at managing my Bluemix account, so now I have the team members already added in. The next step I probably want to look at or consider is grouping those users. So typically in organizations, you'll find users working on different projects, different initiatives, different applications. Most of the time you'll find those projects looking for some sort of a privacy, visibility for different reasons, sometimes legal, sometimes project-related requirements, and so. And for that, you can leverage a two-level hierarchy structure available in Bluemix Public to help you create that kind of grouping. The first level is called organization. So an organization is a logical grouping that enables an owner of a Bluemix account to split users by quota with the specific team members, and also specify certain custom domains that applications can use when being deployed. Within an organization, you can also define one or more spaces. Think of it as a second level grouping. Spaces would help you group sets of applications and also users, instantiated services, to create a second level kind of separation. Between organizations and spaces, typically your account now would be defined in terms of who sees what, who's part or a member of what. So an account, a Bluemix account, would typically have one or more organizations. An organization may have one or more spaces. And then users are really up to what projects or what spaces or organizations they should be part of. Nothing stops a member like John, in this example, from being a member of more than one space that belong to different organizations. John doesn't necessarily need to have the same permissions on all these spaces. So he may have full access for space X, but only read-only for space Z, for example. The same applies with any other users. And as we'll probably seen earlier, nothing stops even the same users from being members of one or more accounts. The concept of a Bluemix account can also include team members from different accounts or different users. As an example here, maybe I have an example of a bank who may decide to use the concept of organization to segregate main projects or departments, and within the organization there's also spaces that are defined by stage of development, dev, test, UAT, and prod. The idea of organization and spaces don't necessarily strict, or is not necessarily strict to a department and a development stage. In fact, feel free to use the organization and space to your own definition that would help you best segregate and define the right level of grouping of your users for developing and deploying applications or parts of applications or maybe overall programs. There is a very interesting page in the Bluemix documentation that talks about best practices for specifying your Bluemix environments, how you would possibly want to define your organizations and spaces, what are the pros and cons of using different styles or different approaches or patterns to that. And now if I want to go back maybe to the a demo or the live demo again, where I can probably show you more about the organizations and management. Similar to the topics or the what we talked about, I can also go and access the organizations or the manage organizations tab. In my case here I have 2 organizations, and if I click on view details of one of those organizations, I can see more details about it, the name of the org, the spaces that has been created so far, and if I want to edit the organization, whether it's the name or any of the details within, I can certainly change that. What you will see is an organization has a logical grouping of the users, the coda as we talked earlier, and also the custom domains that you may want to import into your Bluemix account that will help you define or set different network URLs for your applications that are deployed in there. Codas are defined on the different provisioning engines, of course, that Bluemix provides, such as Cloud Foundry and containers. With containers, you get more granularity with respect to what space has what or what capacity or what coda, and how many public IPs a space may use. So those are all, I would say, levels of segregation that an organization will provide. Now, similarly, maybe if I click cancel here, just go back to the space definition. Let me just click back here. You'll also see a similar level of segregation, mostly on the users, since the coda is assigned on an organization level only. But if I click on edit space, I can also see that I can assign certain domains and also users to a specific space in there. Now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the roles and permissions on the levels of organizations and spaces. So as you can probably see earlier, an organization today provides us with a first level hierarchy. When I invite team members to an org, I have 3 default roles to define or to pick from that you can assign to a user. The first role is called manager. Think of it as the super user on org level. So a manager can create, view, edit, or delete spaces within an organization. A manager can also view the organization usage and quota, can invite team members to the same org, can manage who access the organization and their roles in the organization, and finally can manage custom domains for the organization. A billing manager is somewhat a role in the middle, so think of it as a person who can view runtime and service usage, those services and runtimes that are instantiated in an organization, and can also see the usage dashboard page that we'll talk about later. An auditor is finally a read-only user who can see that there is an org with a specific name that is created and also view the applications and service content in the organization. Auditor cannot apply the same functionality or the same permissions that we've seen on the manager and billing manager. On a space level, you'll also see that there's 3 default permissions as well available there. The first one is called manager, where a space manager can add existing team members to a space, can view application details, and can manage custom domains for the organization. A developer can create, delete, and manage your application in that space, and this is the developer role. And finally, the auditor role is where you have read-only user in that space. What happens typically after is you'll start looking at the users or the team members you have, and you'll start assigning them the right roles or permissions on an organization level and space level. As you can probably see here in this example, you can assign multiple roles to the same user. If you want to assign a certain role on a space level, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to assign any role or any permission for that same user on an organization level. Finally, you feel or you have the full flexibility into deciding who does what or who access what on a space or an organization level. That's another screenshot. I think that shows or talks about also the different roles and permissions. And if I want to go back to my organizations and roles, I can see those assignments by either going to the team directory and clicking the view roles of any of the users that they have. That will show me all of the spaces and organizations a certain user may have in my account. Now I'm gonna look at the next topic here, which is around usage and billing. Usage and billing is an important topic when it comes to managing your Bluemix public account. In the usage dashboard tab, you have the monthly view of your consumption that you can look at and monitor to view what's your average Bluemix consumption on the different applications in your account. It also helps you, have a good view or look of, the consumptions and whether there is a growth or there is a certain pattern of usage between the different months. As you go more through the usage dashboard page, you'll see more details represented in a summary. Or if you like, you can also slice and dice the consumption per run times or per services, where you can see for each specific technology service how much money or what's the cost that was spent over the different service instances of that type of service on the different applications. And this is also a view of the run times, where you can see also how much was consumed. You can view that, as I mentioned earlier, by simply going to the account and clicking the usage dashboard. So in the usage dashboard, you have the ability, as I mentioned earlier, to see the usage information and look at all the capabilities that I mentioned earlier, whether it's the historical view or the monthly view, that you can also filter per organization and per region. You also have the ability to look at the summary of the consumption, slice it and dice it per organizations, per services, and also within the organization you can also get more view or more information. The last topic I want to talk about today is the notifications or the platform notifications. So using a cloud platform is, always has a great advantages. Bluemix in specific being a key platform for building innovative and creative applications doesn't stop us from planning for those situations when there might be some outages that are either planned or unexpected incidents. On both cases, you can opt to set your notifications to, get IBM to notify you about such incidents. Whether it's a planned maintenance, where you typically get an email notification ahead of that plan, so you understand the nature of the update, whether it's disruptive or not, and whether you need to take any any action, or maybe try to deploy your application on additional Bluemix regions to avoid any sort of disruptions. On the unexpected outages or incidents, you also get notified when an issue takes place, and you also get notified when an issue gets fixed and progressed, of course. This is a summary of the different administration features that you can use in your Bluemix public account. I hope the session was useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to contact me. And of course, if you want to get more information about those different features, the Bluemix documentation is always a good starting point, where you can see more details about accessing or managing and governing your Bluemix public accounts. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day.